Hello guys, welcome to another one. I don't have a blog post for this one either, although I might write one. By the time you see this, there might be one as well, I'm trying to say. So, I want to respond to something in here Andrew Wilson says. This is something that a lot of the red pill guys talk about, and a lot of them say this thing about what they call trad cons, right? And again, this is kind of tying into also, what's your definition of traditional? So, I'll kind of get into that in a second, all right? So I'm sorry this is going to be kind of rambly because I don't have an outline, so let's just listen to what Andrew is saying here.
A community that applies significant social pressure. They're like, no, you don't get to just do your husband like this. You don't get to just do these types. Oftentimes, they don't even involve the state at all. Yeah. State's not even, you get married within the community in the eyes of God, because that's what marriage is. Marriage has nothing to do with a state contract.
Yeah.
The state should only be involved in things which are good for the entirety of the nation. Marriage is now not good. And that's terrible. That's an awful position to be in, to have the state promoting something as toxic as marriage through the state now is. It's a raw deal for men. It's a bad deal even for women, ultimately, because they have the incentive to do it, and then they seem to regret it. They take years of regretting this, and it's like, if we're going to change this, fine. But let's actually move towards that, towards actually changing these laws, actually moving against the laws. And where the trad cons get it wrong is they refuse to engage with the red pillars, saying, listen, we're getting destroyed. Men are just getting destroyed out here. They're getting wrecked everywhere, right? And you hear their stories over and over again. And I see these guys in the Daily Wire, they're like, well, you could get lucky. You might get lucky.
One of these days.
I got lucky. Look at me. I got lucky. Look at him. He got lucky too.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that's stupid advice. Right?
Okay, so I don't know anybody in the Daily Wire who says, you'll get lucky. You just might be able to pick one out of the blue and out of the ether. I don't see that. Okay, what I see are the guys at the Daily Wire being like, you need to work on yourself first in becoming a Christian. At least a moral person, at least a thoughtful person. Something like that, where you know what reality is. You have a relationship with God. They say whether you're Jewish, Christian, Orthodox Christian, whatever flavor of Christian you want, you need to have that grounding you before you go out and have any kind of marriage. That's what I've seen. So I don't know what he's seen where they say, you might get lucky. I've never seen that. All right. I've never seen just willy-nilly and go get one because you should have one. I don't see that. I do see a lot of emphasis on marriage. And again, in Christianity, marriage is not bad, but it's also not the choice that you have to make. Because again, in the Bible, it says that singleness is actually top tier, because then you can solely work for God. You don't have the worries of the world and the support. If you're a man, you have a house to support. You have a wife to think of, your children. If you're a wife, you have a husband to think of and your children, and a house to help support. Now, that house is supposed to be on mission for God. Ultimately, that's what it is. But if you're single, you can just leave. You can just pick up and go. There's no, you see what I'm saying? It's easier to do that. Not that you couldn't do it the other way, but it's a lot easier to just leave if you're a single person. Or to just say, okay, I've made this decision and now I'm doing it. All right. So I don't see that happening. If you guys see that happening, then please let me know. What he talks about as far as ecclesiastical marriage, that is how I, as a traditional woman, viewed my marriage. Okay. To me, I wasn't married until my current husband now and I stood in front of our church community, in front of the cross, and said, we are going to be together the rest of our lives under the authority of Christ. Okay? The paperwork that we did fill out was not so that we could say we were married. We were already married before that paperwork got filled out, right? That was our marriage. If we never had the paperwork, I would still be married. All right. We filled out the paperwork basically just to obey the law. Because in South Carolina, where we live, if you don't fill out that paperwork, then they fine you, I think. So like the pastor has to send it in. It has to be recorded or you're fined. So I don't agree with that. When he's saying that the state, shouldn't be, I don't think the state should be involved in our relationships at all. And what I mean by that is, like, if I want to consider myself married, then I am. If I want to consider myself like somebody's girlfriend, then as long as that, me and that other person say so, we are. I haven't really worked out the nuances of this, because when I say involved with relationships, I can kind of see where it falls apart. But I am so sick of the government being part of everything that I am doing that I am ready to just completely eject it out of everything. If you murder around me, then I should just be able to take care of you. It's where I'm at right now. And I know that's extreme, but I've just seen the government over and over and over and over again make a mess out of it. And that's because that's the world taking care of it. I know that the Bible has the answer, and in the Bible, we take care of it. Okay, our ecclesiastical, as he's saying, court takes care of it. And it's done. Okay, I don't want to, I guess you could say anything positive about any court anywhere. So I never will, because I don't want to. I've seen it just be wrong every time. I am 100% behind the red pill guys when it comes to family court. Not even just divorce court, but family court in general completely. All right? It needs to go. I hated it when I was a kid. I hate it now. There's nothing about it that I think is really redemptive. And it needs to go. I would just utterly shut it down completely. All right, there would be no family court. That would not be a thing. So, that's where I'm at with that. I think later on also he says something about traditional women wouldn't even be on platforms at all. And that's where I start to kind of draw the line again, going away, because on the one hand, I am totally behind them changing laws. I want these laws changed. Not only do I want these laws changed, I want the division that deals with the laws gone. All right, so because I hate it so much, I think it's an abomination. But at the same time, then the red pill guys start saying, well, women can't do this, women can't do that. And when you do that, it feeds into the fear that the feminists have created for women where, well, if you go with this traditional route, they're going to tell you can't do X, Y, Z and all this. And some of the stuff that the red pill guys say that women shouldn't do, there's no actual religious reason not to. Okay. And one of those things is working. And I agree, no career. She shouldn't be part of a career, right? But like my Pentecostal preacher said one time, what happens when something happens to the man? Right? What happens then? And let's say, like happens in the Christian church a lot, right? What happens when your husband gets in a car accident, becomes a paraplegic, right? He can't work. There's no working. He's injured mentally, physically, whatever. And he cannot work to provide for you. So the answer in the Christian church isn't divorce, obviously, right? It's the woman works, okay? And so I think these guys lose it because they're now just trying to autocorrect all the way over. And they're not thinking about the realities of what happens whenever this happens. What happens in Christian families also is that as a Christian, you can lose your family support because your family is not Christian. The church can help you and should help you. All right. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, you're not supposed to be a burden to the church. Okay. So she needs to be able to go out and work and provide also for her family. And then the church can help on top of that. And so that's working. Right. So maybe she's not participating in a career, but she has maybe her own business. She has maybe something part-time on the side that she does. There are ways to work within the reality of life. Like things happen to people, you have to be able to stand up and be a support, and follow a traditional line of thinking. And that's where I think the red pillars go wrong. I think they're going all the way over here. Just trying to get people's attention so that they can get attention for this situation, basically. And the situation they want changed is the laws. And the situation I want changed, and I would go out to say most Christians, although I can't speak for every Christian out there, but the situation I want changed is people's mindset about marriage. You're not married because the government says, okay, now you're married. You should be married because you and this other person say, hey, we are together now for life, for, everything, through everything. Right? You guys should be able to look at each other and say, no matter what happens, we're going to be together. I'm going to be faithful and loyal to you, both of you looking at each other. And that is the Christian perspective on marriage. Okay. Christians want people to be Christians because it's good for them. It's good for society. If you have a Christian society, these laws don't even need to exist. All right. And that's kind of where I'm trying to get people, I think, to see with some of these videos is that if you want something good, you have to create it. You can't rely on the government to do it. You can't rely on other people to do it. You have to do it. You have to be the one thinking about how you want your life run. You have to be the one thinking, what do I want to eat? What do I want to wear? What am I following? What's my value system? What is it? What's my worldview? What is it? So if you're not doing that, then a lot of these conversations, you're going to be able to be pushed and pulled and swayed in many different directions. And they're absolutely right. These red pill guys are absolutely right when they talk about men are getting screwed in courts. They're getting screwed when it comes to seeing their children, which they do love and care about. They are getting screwed and it's not right. And so for me, my very extreme position is that we just get rid of these courts altogether, get rid of the government involvement in things, right? And that's what I would ultimately like to see. A very low government involvement, a very high church and social involvement. And that's what I would think would be our prescription for things. And Andrew kind of agrees. I think if he is doing things in the background to help with these laws, I'd like to know what they are so that I could at least give money to it or give my voice to it, whatever it is. But either way, I just wanted to cover that here. And I think I'm going to do sort of a written thing about what it means to be traditional. Because I think for me, traditional ultimately means Christian. It doesn't mean like Muslim. That's not a tradition. That's not a traditional thing for me. That's a single mother. If you look into that religion, it's a single mother religion that came from Moses's sin. Not Moses, sorry. I think Abraham's sin. You read about the patriarchs. I believe it's Abraham. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. You guys can look it up too. See if I'm right or wrong. But it's a single mother religion based off of the sin of a patriarch in the Old Testament. So I don't give it any credence. I don't care about it. I don't think it's right. There's nothing in it that makes me go, oh, okay, I can listen to them. Because essentially, you can't. They're not basing things on God. They're basing things on a man. So anyway, enough of that little ramble. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes here. And remember to pray and read your Bible today. And Sunday, get to church. All right. Bye.